what will be brought to bear to potentially either force that three-way tie for the Capybaras, I believe Maplers and Coach Woodon, or do we see that change again and Coach Woodon find themselves with a pretty easy run towards qualification? I mean, in terms of what we're seeing at the moment, you're looking at your Oriana bans coming through. Rise, you would have thought more consistently banned out, is being let through sort of like as a handshake thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely gets Halo. I expect that one is going to be considered by Low Cortisol as the potential ban. Halo, of course, can just play everything meta right now. I think we've also seen some really good Azir from him. That Oriana, of course, does come to mind. He's very much kind of that very much mage player in the mid lane who can play anything that the team requires. The other one you have to consider is, of course, Willy Wonka, and there's the Rise ban. Willy Wonka, of course, don't give him that Jax. Don't give him keyboard, mouse, oxygen, food, shelter, water, because he will take your top laner to task. So a lot to be considered by Low Cortisol going to this matchup. The other one I want to talk about is the Ambessa, because that's been the talk of the tournament. Flex between top and jungle, we've seen it go mad in the jungle. If it gets banned here, if it doesn't get banned, I think that's going to be the pick that you maybe look to get put in the hands of Willy Wonka.
Absolutely. I mean, that guy really is sort of just the be-all and end-all, at least coming out of that amateur scene for the top lane in the region. He is even giving those well-established pros a decent run for their money up in the top lane. And I mean, Olaf, Rek'Sai being banned out away by the Capybara, so a lot of focus around that top jungle combo. Yunara Rise coming back in response from Low Cortisol, so Daisy and Halo being targeted out there. Two very strong picks. Rise and Yunara do require a bit of ramp up. They need a bit of time to come online, but when they do, boy, do they come online.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see a little bit more of this as we go throughout the season. With the changes to plating, the way that you still get you get chances for greater rewards the further you go into the game. I think that these mid-game spiking compositions, things like the Yunara and the Rise, once you get the actualizer spike online, just feel so effective and can really buy you out of what can otherwise be a fairly mediocre early game with a lot of these champions. So not surprised to see these champions targeted. There, of course, the Varus, which is still just the strongest priority getting bot laner in the meta.
The stat stick bot laner / top laner, depending on whether or not you're in ranked and playing into a degen, either way.
And if you're a bad person.
Yeah, some people are just too evil to be allowed to run free in competitive League of Legends. But Xin Zhao comes through for the Zuba Asian, a very safe jungler, very solid, consistent jungler in the meta. Hasn't really fallen out of favor for the last 18 months for very good reason. Plays very well in the front line, a lot to enable your control mages in the mid lane, and does a lot of frontline tanking for those heavy carries. But on the other side, Captain Tofu, Pantheon. Big fan of the Pantheon jungle because of that global pressure that it does offer.
Yeah, so strong, and also just gives you that point-and-click CC, so you can access the backline very easily, especially if you're coming in from a priority position with a flank. Love the Ornn as well, gives you more setup, so you can have the Ornn be your sort of front line, and then have the Pantheon be diving into the backline while the Ornn buys space. See what the crackback is, because things like your Ashe Seraphines of the world are still available, and there's the Ashe lock-in. And against something that's going to be fairly front-to-back focused outside of that Pantheon, I don't mind the look, because, yeah, Xin Zhao buying space, Ashe Seraphine raining hell from far, that looks really, really good. I would not be surprised if Fury does go for something more mage-focused, like one of those Orianas, and then you just hard target Halo in that second phase. So, see if that's what they end up going for. I think, yeah, Oriana feels good. Pantheon, dive onto the Ashe. I can see it.
Absolutely. I mean, arguments could be made for something a little bit more aggressive as well. Play in those flanks, try and shut down the Ashe before it really can find that effect. So far, I mean, Low Cortisol, okay, so interesting. It does maybe lean to one of those lower range hyperscaling 80 carries, the Zeri's desires. Very risky, I'd imagine, even potentially. Actually, I'm not even gonna speculate, because it's grassroots esports. There is potential for some weird and wonderful picks. But so far, Low Cortisol, the draft that they're giving me is choke points. Choke points are going to be the downfall of Capybara. They don't want to be fighting in the jungle. If there is terrain nearby, it is going to be a death sentence. That Ornn Pantheon combo, just screaming in through those close quarters fights, are going to be very hard to deal with. And Ambessa taken away as well. Zeri, yeah, so Capybara very clearly leaning into what this Milio pick is likely trying to set up.
And you talked about short range, and yes, the range is going to be potentially a problem, especially when you get Ash Seraphine. You've got a Xin, so if you're hitting him from afar, he pops the Crescent Guard, and you don't get to really interact with him for a few seconds. But I'm thinking low Cortisol might be setting up for either a Jinx or a Sivir on their side, because you take Sivir, you got the Spell Shield, you take the Cleanse, that's another way to deal with the Ash Seraphine. So if you can weather that early storm, then it does get you to a point where you can just kind of be behind the Ornn, behind the Pantheon, just kind of throwing out those W bouncing auto attacks. So we'll see if that is the direction they do go for here.
Yeah.
As on the other side, like I really love this setup from Capybara, and I think you could auto complete this draft with basically anything. Willy Wonka could play that trademark Jax, which is open and available, and that just slots in so nicely just to threaten whatever is going to be that short-range hyper carry.
Yeah, I mean, they've sort of hit both of those angles as well, not just the short-range carries, but the likes of the Caitlyn and Tristana, who will at a certain point outrange the Ashe, especially when paired with Emilio. So Capybara have done this ban phase very well, so it's going to be the Jinx instead. Also a champion that at a certain point with Emilio paired with it is going to be a bit of a struggle, assuming that, you know, they have the tools to keep that front line alive. But, I mean, realistically, there's a lot that needs to be done here for Capybara to try and get through what is going to be a very hard to deal with frontline Pantheon. While not traditionally the most tanky champion, can't just throw up the shield, then blocks a lot of damage, and then you have Ornn coming in on the backside of it. Zaheen. Oh, okay. Okay, I've seen a lot of talk about Zaheen and what people think about it in the top lane, and into an Ornn, it's probably one of the better matchups it could have.
Yeah, definitely. He can take the grasp, he can take pretty even trades. He will just sustain through that lane, as will the Ornn, and you'll come out the other side probably both feeling quite happy, looking to round out the draft. Need a lot more damage here from Capybara, I think, to feel really confident about what they can do to access this Jinx. I would not mind seeing something can commit a little bit more aggressively. I was going to say exactly this pick, the Azir, because it gives you the ability to shuffle in after the crowd control goes down, put the Jinx in an uncomfortable position, and then you look to blow her up with the Ash Seraphine with the Zaheen damage, and then you win the fight by rote, because it's just, again, not a lot of damage on the low Cortisol side either. So very similar situations in both drafts.
Yeah, I mean, do we see the handshake of the Talia? It's going to be a victor. I was thinking maybe the Great Wall of Sparta just play the game in terms of just out macro, because you've got that Weaver's Wall, because you've got the Grand Starfall. Suddenly, what is a 2v2 is suddenly a 4v2, and you can play it that way. But Victor, I mean, look, he's going to do all right. He's going to become a bit of a monster. You've still got the frontline beef of that Ornn and Pantheon combo. You then have the ability to rain down Hellfire with the Chaos Storm, and of course Jinx going absolutely ballistic with the Fishbones. So I rate low Cortisol's draft. I think situationally could be a little bit hard to execute, but much is the same for Capybara.
Yeah, I agree. There's definitely moments for both of these drafts where they will be able to pop off, and I think a lot of it is going to come around enabling Willy Wonka to get into those flanking positions, as well as Deceperation potentially being that kind of pincer movement, because you can control a lot of space with Ash Seraphine with the Azir, so you can kind of have that one person be that member who's needing to be marked by the rest of the team, and then I think if you can find those angles where you're both coming in from multiple angles of attack, you get the Jinx, and then either or the Victor, both are valuable targets. And then, like I said, it's kind of that grind out of the rest of the fight because you've gotten that key target down. So looking for a lot of snap decisiveness from Capybara, which they certainly have shown in the past. So we'll see if they can get it. Whereas, low Cortisol, like you said, very happy to brawl it out.
Yeah.
They've got an Ornn.
I mean, look, both drafts really have a lot that can shine, and I'm really excited to see yet another Seraphine. We've seen some absolutely standout support play over the last couple of weeks. In fact, game-defining support play, and Seraphine has been one of the usual suspects drafted in that role. My one concern for Capybara is their frontline is a little bit fraudulent between a Zaheen and a Xin Zhao. Yes, it is going to be sticking around a long time, but as soon as that crescent sweeps down, as soon as Zaheen does get that revive off, suddenly you've got a lot of less stickability. It does mean that these fights get drawn out. If low Cortisol can bait out key abilities from Capybara, that fight becomes a little bit rough. But we won't know until we get onto the Rift, of course, weapon. If you had to put pink slips down, looking at the drafts as we head onto the Rift, which one are you favouring?
Pink slips, man. My car. God. No, I actually do favor Capybara, I think, heading into this one. Of course, low Cortisol have had a bit of a disastrous run. The Fury sub gives me a bit more hope, but I think that this is where we're going to see Capybara kind of put it together. They've got this really strong laning duo. They've got a mid lane which can survive, and then they've got the Zaheen, which will just become a juggernaut. The scaling on this champion is out of control. Is really taking some nice trades here. Not what you want to see from Halo.
I don't know what you're talking about. That's definitely not Refury. It's someone else.
It's not Refury, you're right.
It's clearly not him. But yeah, I mean,
we've been bamboozled.
Played. These League of Legends players just too smart. You can already see, unfortunately for Halo, being a little bit zoned off that way, he should be fine. Shouldn't really involve too much intervention from to Super Asian at this point. But at this stage of the competition, you can see how much this means. And Guacamole Gary's in so much trouble. Has taken so much punishment in the early stages of the lane phase. Pots are gone. You've got you've got heal in Bad Memory's back pocket, but this might be an early recall for us.
It might be. Guacamole Gary is so low. Now, it is a jinx. He can kind of sit back, pop the fish bones. Oh my god.
The aggressive Ignite play from Refury, which we are seeing a lot of mid laners do now, and looking for those aggressive trades. Unfortunately means they won't quite have the same macro level, but getting that back early off on a Halo could, especially given the creep differential in the mid lane, throw things a little bit awry.
Yeah, and what that potentially does is, sets up a wave that is going to be pushing slowly for the side of Refury into him. So with the Pantheon, the much more reliable ganking jungler with that point-and-click crowd control, could look to set it up. Looks like Halo has managed to kind of get himself a little bit of a phrase here, but you always have the option of dunking the wave as Refury. I also want to point out, he was very safe taking those trades because he had that one little bit of vision in that topside jungle for Refury. So he was able to just step up. Guacamole Gary, he's going to get single autoed and die.
He's playing a very dangerous game, and he has had to recall. I don't blame him. You don't want to be throwing away advantages if you don't need to. But, yeah, a bit of a dicey start to the game for low cortisol.
Yeah, definitely not what you want to see. That little bit of gold lead just off of the resets that have been forced. Refury's going to be holding his own in the mid lane. He's completely fine. Keeping your eyes on these junglers. They are completing their first clears down towards that bot side. You have Guacamole Gary coming off his base, so he does have full resources, but that slight gold lead over to the Ashe Seraphine, very much expected at this stage of the game. Really waiting, I think, for level 6s on the Ashe Seraphine before you can start to be effective. And I think once you get that around that dragon spawn, then if you kept up this pace of play where you are just eking out these small advantages, then that's where it comes online, right? It's just you fight around dragon, you throw your R buttons at the opponents, and something has to give.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not something that I've noticed seeing that much of the Oceanic Resurrection tournament, which is the sending Ashe mid, regardless of the matchup, because of how much power comes off that Enchanted Crystal. I think teams would probably benefit quite a lot sending it there, just because it gives you a little bit more global pressure, and suddenly, the scrap that's happening in the top lane, suddenly it's just an Enchanted Crystal screaming down from the river, and the fight's gone horrifically wrong.
Yeah, Wonka has not taken his reset yet, so he's going to have a massive advantage on the base timer when he does take it, as he will be taking that now. We'll see what he comes back to lane with. Of course, it is going to be that wet noodle fight up on the top lane, so not going to make a difference. But again, it's about all those small advantages we talked about coming out of draft, where Wonka does want to be ahead enough to be able to stamp his authority, to get to the fights first, and he certainly is doing that with, again, just that little bit of a lead. And speaking of leads, Izzy and Kenbo, like Jinx, Milio just don't get to play the game.
Absolutely. I mean, that early trade going so horrifically wrong, putting Guacamole Gary in such a rough spot. It was very nearly bones on the ground for him. If he'd stepped up a little bit further, there was a good chance one of those auto attacks would have connected. It would have been an easy kill, but you could see the trading really ramping up across the rift. We saw it pretty consistently up on that top side every time we flicked back. It's a bit of a wet noodle fight, let's be honest. That tends to be how top lane goes, but even the mid lane, Refury now under pressure from Halo.
Yeah, really nice. That matchup does swap as you get more points into the W or the Q, whichever direction you go for. It gives you that little bit more agency. Usually it's the W just for pushing the waves that little bit faster. But what I'm looking at here is it is going to be 5 minutes on the clock very, very shortly. Dragon spawning in 3 seconds. Both bot lanes have looked for their reset, and both junglers finished in their clear down towards the bot side. You can see Kenvo has linked up with the jungle to make sure. He might have popped a sweeper to try and make sure there wasn't any cheeky raptor wards, so the jungler wasn't noted. And they are going to be looking to gear up for this dragon fight, or maybe even just a dragon take if Daisy and Kenbo can keep Guacamole Gary honest.
One goes out, but Wonka responds with his own ult. Suicune in a bit of trouble, forced to flash away. Willy Wonka will have that summoner advantage for the time being, and a CS lead that, I mean, hasn't widened beyond sort of 10 CS, is putting this poor Ornn in a really rough position. Does have the Bramble Vest now, so we'll cut through some of that healing. Buttercup, it's old Captain Tofu on the Pantheon. Can they interrupt this recall? I think Willy Wonka's sixth sense has been tingling as he knows something's up.
he knows something up. Surely he just walks away. But it is Willy Wonka. We have to note he is a bit of a psychopath at times, but he is going to walk away. Press the B button, take his lumps and take his reset, take his gold, and buy more items, which is really good signs for Capybara because again, they're not really under a lot of pressure here. It looks like that dragon. The whole river controlled completely by their side, just off the bot lane priority, just off of Capybara mid. Halo himself having push in this matchup, so it is 0-0, very slow, but you can see those little advantages stacking up, 700 to the good. So Capybara just slowly taking control of this game.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of posturing, a lot of just sort of staunching up to each other and anticipating a fight, but nothing really coming of it. Gravity Well does go out, and Halo's just going to duck out of it to avoid that stun, gets a bit of extra damage on Fury, who does have the Ignite up. So that is something that will need to be respected by Halo if he's not careful. That trade can quickly turn on a dime. But for now, things going to ease. Guacamole Gary having been given a bit of a reprieve in this bot lane. Daisy and Kenvo looking for that recall.
And they will take it. That's going to be the boots picked up by Daisy on the Ashe. So a little bit more lethality when it comes to you land that W, you can chase down the target, gives you more room to move in the fight. So I do like the choice. It is going to be that Chemtech Drake. So as much as we talk about the junglers wanting to get onto that objective nice and early, both sides do have some growing to do in this game in terms of their scaling. So not expecting at this stage, if we haven't hit it yet, that we are going to look to try and prioritize this objective, probably looking at the grub spawn in about 35 seconds. With those clears completed for both junglers, probably going to be using their time to reset and get up there. But
Cowstorm, Enchanted Crystal Arrow does just miss, but in comes the Super Asian. The God Sword falls right on the head of Ryu Fury. Almost gets the trade back, and he will with the Ignite.
He gets it.
The Martyrdom Summoner from Ryu Fury trades it at a 1-for-1.
The Super Asian tries to find the play, just forsakes his bot side in favor of looking for an advantage in mid. That is going to open up this potential dragon here as Bad Memories leashed it, but there is no Pantheon to speak of. And that trade 1-for-1, not going to change the complexion of the game, but it does show that Fury is still able to be relevant in this game. I think he is going to be very important with the way that this bot lane has been going for low cortisol. They really need that point of power, and Fury is looking to be that for them.
And you got to respect the call not to drag Captain Tofu in, who did have that Grand Starfall. It would have been a wasted ultimate, and Ryu Fury still does get that kill back in response, so he is going to still be able to look to impact the map, possibly. Flash there for Halo, so there's not the biggest amount of kill threat available, and especially with Willy Wonka looking to rotate down as well. They're angling for something here onto Halo, but it's not going to find any traction.
Super Asian just took his reset, so he did get that one kill. He's going to get himself a Sundered Sky. That spike is going to be a big deal, especially because Captain Tofu is going for the full dopamine, full lethality build. Looks like they're very happy to trade off this Chemtech Drake for what will eventually be those 3 grubbies. And when you've got an Ashe Seraphine that is just putting Jinx and Milio permanently under their tower, getting the chip damage on the tower, those 3 grubbies, not as strong as they used to be, but definitely will help out.
Yeah, I mean, especially compared to a Chemtech at the moment, it's not the most impactful dragon that you could find. And it's Singularity or even as Soul up in the top lane. The slap fight continues, so Suicune just stacking up. Has equalized that creep score, so definitely not quite as under the pump as he was not that long ago. But again, it's still an Ornn versus Zaheen. There is a slightly different impact each of these is going to be bringing to a team fight.
Yeah, most definitely. Going to be all about finding those angles into the fight, whereas the Ornn just gets to press his buttons and stand in front. And Willy Wonka, nasty trade. Base damages on the Ornn, pretty gross. But he is just playing this out nicely. You can see he's also bought the Cole because he knows that this is going to be a very slow lane and he can just eke out those small advantages in that way. But love to see it. Not much to speak of. 1-to-1 on both sides. Still even. Capybara.
Yeah, the Shurima Shuffle not quite on the money. Ryu Fury can just sort of giggle and walk that one out.
Yep, the emote popped by Halo tells the whole story. Really nice. I think he just a little backstep on the shuffle, knowing that it was coming in. Also throw down the gravity field just in case, so really well played by Ryu Fury. And this substitute really actually kind of putting in work for low cortisol. A big pickup. When I saw him on the right,
an aggressive push through, but the Chaos Storm is there. No, oh, there is still flash for Halo, but he's got the Super Asia coming in support. It's no flash for the Victor now, but he sidesteps away from danger. And another attempt from Capybara goes wanting, as they will just sidestep away. Ryu Fury again, not even easing up on the pressure as he sees the Super Asian fade into the jungle.
Yeah, knows exactly where he is, so he can just go back to hitting that tower. Furious Ruben with the mechanics, just going kind of sicko mode on them. Just the side steps. Has so much pressure in this matchup, has the lead. Gonna be able to pick up. No?
Oh, looking aggressively. Oh, Ryu Fury stunned even. But the Ignite again, so one trap. Great Starfall this time. Unfortunately, it is wasted a little bit, and Buttercup is under the tower, taking so much punishment. And this should be a nice, easy kill for the Super Asian if he can stick to him, and he will. A horrific misplay results in a 2-for-1 going the way of the Capybaras.
Oh, it was so good when Rafuri got the trade, but then Captain Tofu just presses the R button, dives in, literally pays for his hubris because he's gone such a tanky build that he doesn't have anyone to set him up. Daisy.
Guacamole Gary still hanging on for the littlest bit. The Super Mega Death Rocket comes out as well, but the heal. Bad Memory drops the ult. Trying to drop a beat too, but unfortunately the beat's falling flat. It's just chaos across the board. It's going to be Daisy fighting the kill. The flash away does just sidestep. Could have been the trade that Bad Memory was looking for. A dicey fight in an aggressive trade from Guacamole Gary that puts him in death's door.
Okay, I see it. I see the vision. If this is the way this game is going to play out, Buttercup is on the flank, doesn't have the empowered E, so I don't know if he's going to be able to catch up with this. Burns the flash.
Slowed. He will just connect. Can he finish off Daisy? The heal comes through.
No way.
And it's going to be a 2-for-1 rather in the end. Not even a 2-for-1. It's just a 2-for-nothing. My God.
We're going to see it again. See this from Daisy, just stepping up, has the barrier ready for the bait. The ultimate comes out. It's just not enough damage. And then Kenbo, it just dives onto the tower with absolute reckless abandon. The W tagging Gary there. And then this flash into the bush stops any follow-up auto attacks from Guacamole Gary. So it's just enough, even dodging the super mega fire kick. Bad Memory does get away with his life at the end of it, but then Buttercup, again, he's not tanky enough to go for these 1v1 plays.
And
the gank up to the top side, squeaking on notice.
He is a bit hard to chew through this on, but the stat stick power of the Saheen flashes there. Buttercup might just leave his top lane.
Got the passive.
The passive should carry him through. Oh, and no, Buttercup is just going to let his top laner fall. And unfortunately, Bad Memory might also do the same as they now turn their attention to this poor little Milio. And look who's here to join the party. No minion wave to speak of, unfortunately. And weapon, it's that domino effect. It's the butterfly effect. Buttercup wasting the Grand Starfall mid means that it's not available for him to come and join the fight in the bot lane. If not for that fact, Cortisol might have been sitting in a pretty spot right now. Yeah,
definitely. It's this string of plays that have really not paid off for them. And it was these little dominoes were starting to fall. You could see where Zahen was getting the advantage. You had this massive advantage bot lane. The Ashe has just picked up that Storm Racer, so she's going to be massive when it comes to chasing down those targets.
Oh,
and
the Shurima shuffle again. Ryu Fury. He's not going to get the Martyrdom Ignite this time around. He's trying to walk himself away, but the Super Asian should be able to connect, and he does. And Zin's out at 14 minutes into the game is on a killing spree.
Yeah, and like, I love going for the dopamine build on Captain Tofu, but I have to call it out because every time he's tried to take these fights, it's always been in this sort of 1v1 honor duel situation where if you're isolating a target out, if you're playing off someone else's CC, then yeah, you can totally blow someone up with the full lethality. But it's not been that scenario, so the Super Agent has just looked so much better because he's gone for the Sunder Sky, has the healing, has the health, and he's been able to scrap, honestly, against his opposition and look great. Daisy.
Looking for it. Suddenly, Guacamole Gary's the trolley and Shana Crystal Arrow. Now, there we go. The Grand Starfall comes screaming on. Tokyo Drift. But unfortunately, here comes the Super Asian in response of his own. And those pink slips going wanting a triple kill in the pocket of Ashe. And that is a big payday. Capybara as well and truly in the driving seat.
They are just taking this game by force. 7k to the good is the lead. And it's all just off the back of just this bot lane absolutely dominating and just making plays like this. They just step forward. They know the Grand Starfall is behind them. They don't care. They have the Super Agent in the back pocket. And Daisy with this Storm Razor, so much mobility.
Willy Wonka.
Wait, Wonka?
He's going to walk himself out. He's fine. Zaheen, deceptively bulky. Oh, Ryu Fury, I'm not sure if this is a fight you want to take, but he's not going to find it anyways. Willy Wonka has just slunk away from danger. And that's a tower, buddy. I don't know if you want to walk through. Okay, he's just going to... Okay. Look, it's the fastest way back to base.
Yep. Quick B, all good. Going to get some plate gold into Suicune. Definitely going to help him get to a relevant state in this game. Zehen, you can't go for plays like that against him because he's kind of like a Nunu. The full AP Nunu where he bites you and heals half his health bar. Silas, probably another one. The Q does deceptively a lot of healing, especially if you get more points in it. So you walk up, go to hit him, suddenly, oh, he's actually just not killable, and then he kills you because he gets his passive stack. It's pretty gross. I actually am a big fan of that champion.
Oh, look, there's some fun to be had in League of Legends, to say the very least, but it's a rough gig for sure. Currently, low cortisol looking very much like the Warriors at the hands of the West Tigers. It is not a pretty sight at all. As Capybara is well in the driving seat, 8.3k gold lead before the 20-minute mark, and 1.8k of that. It's not even the largest gold lead in the hands of Daisy, but probably the scariest gold lead on the Rift.
Yeah, most definitely. And Ashe is one of those champions where we talk about her having not the most damage when it comes to being the AD carry role, especially compared to things like Jinx that could just become massive. But this is a Jinx who has been put so far behind. Normally you see things like the Hex Optics build on Jinx, but when that doesn't go to plan, you pivot to something that's a little bit easier in terms of the build path, and that usually is the Kraken Slayer, so kind of gimping her damage there. And then the Ashe just being so far ahead means that even in these heads-up front-to-back team fights, you are going to have the advantage because you've got range, you've got the super agent who can buy you space on the front line. So I think at this point, as Capybara, you can just take any single fight, and it's going to be dragon spawning in 2 minutes 30. You can just look to keep your waves pushed, collapse on those plays, and just kind of play it out by rote. Whereas Cortisol, I have to see them make a play around this Pantheon ult, which is off cooldown, and try and isolate someone out, blow them up, make that pick so they can
keep up on the top lane. Refury's up the tower. He's going to die to the exact same tower he died 2 minutes ago. But this time, not an execute. Unfortunately, Tofu's also been found. And in this 1v1, the Hubris Pantheon with not a single kill or assist to his name is not that jacked up beef jerky monster that he could be.
It's just really awkward to play, Daisy.
What an ultimate from Kenbo! Guacamole Gary flashes into it, hit by the charm, and another 2 kills going the way of Daisy. Their support diff is speaking volumes.
It's just ridiculous. Kenbo has been playing out of his mind. This ultimate landing flashes into it, just Guacamole Gary. So really going to be regretting that one. Definitely wants his money back. But I think, Panda, it might be time to start putting away the conversation about Ashe being low damage. I think Stormrazor changes that complexion a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, you load into the Rift, you see the Seraphine, it's pretty pink, it's sparkly, and you look under the veil, and it's not Seraphine, it's Mark Henry under the veil, looking to drop their hammer on you from the top rope, which, if you don't know wrestling, that is probably the scariest sentence anyone has said, because Mark Henry is a big bloke. And, well, yeah, him from the top rope is going to break something. And right now, the thing that is breaking is the will of low cortisol. 17-4, 11,500 gold lead, 3 grubs, a dragon to their name, and Baron likely on the horizon.
It is the expected result. Had high hopes for the Refury sub-in, and the game is certainly far from over. But Refury, I think, especially, even though he is 3-7, just quietly has racked up a bunch of deaths. But he looked so good in the early game, even when the rest of the map was a little bit, you would say, underwhelming, charitably. He's just kind of fallen by the wayside as well. So now it's like, who do you really play around? And I go back to the idea of picks, and it starts to look even harder because all of your lanes are getting pushed. I don't think there's a single person you can really 1v1, even if you put the Ashe against anyone on the enemy team. So it starts to look a little bit dire. Wonka. Can commit the ult.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. He's strong enough in this top lane matchup that he can pretty much just go toe-to-toe with anyone that he wants, and he's not going to suffer all that greatly. Baron spawned, and it looked like it might just be an on-spawn take here from the Capybaras. Daisy is an absolute beast on this Ashe right now. They clear that vision. They can at least bait a fight out here because low cortisol cannot afford to let this Baron go down if they want even a sniff at a potential comeback.
Yeah, most definitely. They're going to park this Ashe mid lane, get some permanent priority. The only concern is this top wave. Fury is waiting in the wings.
He's well behind enemy lines. Halo, the gravity well is there, and they are just going to drop everything. The hammer falls, and that is a dead Azir, but at what cost?
And that is the only situation where you want to see a full lethality Pantheon on your team. When you've got someone completely isolated, you pick the target, you blow them up. Gets them a little bit of breathing space in this room, but in this game. But that is about all it's going to get them. They're not going to be able to convert Summer Tower just yet. So it is a little bit of a reprieve, but that is still a 10k gold lead. That's still gross.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, the payphone's ringing. Noah's there to answer. Low Cortisol very much lacking in that damage threat department. You can see an Infinity Edge being worked on here by Guacamole Gary, but you feel like we're in a spot where that may not even make the most significant distance. And hey, there you go, Halo teleporting in. They're going to start that Baron up. It's a minute and 15 after it spawned, but essentially on Rip, and there's very little that Low Cortisol can do to contest, especially with an Ashe providing that vision.
Yeah, they just rip the cord. They say no, they don't want any of that smoke.
Grand Starfall, they want the smoke. Unfortunately, it's barbecue time and Pantheon's on the menu.
Oh no, that's another wrestling reference for all of you 90s kids. And they're just going to win this fight easily from here. The arrow is going to be off cooldown just a second. Do they go for it? They do.
A sidestep. That was big from Guacamole Gary. I mean, to be fair, the game feels like it is in a horrendous spot. Yeah. But I don't think, unfortunately, we're going to get that coffin sit-up moment like we had in the good old days of wrestling. The Undertaker has retired. The gimmick's over. There is no chance of a comeback. And that final nail in the coffin being slammed on Low Cortisol right now is the mid-tier 3 falls. Willy Wonka, look at him. He is playing gatekeep, separating Low Cortisol from even defending their inhibitor.
They've got the wave coming in top as well. Capybara looking to choke slam this game. They're going to be able to get this inhibitor, the engage coming in.
The Horn does connect on the 2, but the ult out from Kendo once again in the thick of it. The frontline power of the Xin Zhao enabling Daisy to run rampant. It is just Captain Tofu, Fury, and Guacamole Gary to hold a 3v5, and unfortunately, you got to wonder, maybe there was nerves on the side of Fury coming into this game. Maybe nerves on the side of the entire team, because Mum Spaghetti is spattered on their shoes and the floor.
Yeah, this was their chance to play spoiler, and they are not going to be able to spoil any of Capybara's parade. They get everything they want. Top and mid inhibitor is going to be going down. There is no dragon to speak of to convert off of this, and I don't think we're even going to live to see that that fourth dragon in this game, as Halo's just straight back out on the map. Buttercup, I don't even know if he can 1v1 here. Let's find out.
They've got support. Guacamole Gary's dying. I say support. He wasn't really going to be doing much. And oh, what a shuffle. It's not even a shuffle. It's just the Emperor's Divide. Scooping up this Pantheon. Dumping him in with the rest. As that Achata Crystal comes screaming in from that Cortisol jungle. Now the Super Asian Willy Wonka on the hunt. My God, the damage on the bad memory. Guacamole Gary not far to fall. And he will drop his Xin Zhao monster that has been building all the game, is now untouchable. Grand Starfall in, and it's nothing. He's gone. He's come down from heaven. He's about to go right back up. And then Horn 2, well off the money. The Force God does nothing. Nil. Zip. It doesn't connect on a single target as the Low Cortisol's crumbling in the face of the Capybaras. It will be the victory they need. This could be their opportunity to force a 3-way tie in Group A.
Absolutely massive for Capybara, looking to take their tournament life into their own hands. We will see how it shakes out at the end of the weekend, but this was a team we expected to do well, and this is kind of the results we expect from this team. And can I just say, I think I've said this before, but Zehen is such a Willy Wonka champion, because going in like a maniac is kind of just what he does, and that's what Willy Wonka will do on any champion. We didn't get to see a lot of him on this champion. It really was around this bot lane, but just such a well-played game, and I think something they needed. We needed to see a statement from this team. We needed to see that they deserve to be the defending champions.
Absolutely. I mean, it was a very, very clean game. It wasn't showy, it wasn't flashy. They just came in with a draft that works solidly if it's played correctly, and they played it correctly. And they capitalized on some really big mistakes there from Low Cortisol, who were in prime position to play spoiler coming into this, key matchup for the Capybaras. But unfortunately, it just wasn't allowed to happen.
Yeah, and as much as I don't want to sort of tunnel down on a particular choice made by the Low Cortisol, no frontline outside of the Ornn definitely felt bad. The Pantheon is so effective when you build things like the Sundered Sky, and we just didn't see it. You saw the vision. You saw that pick in the top lane where the Pantheon had enough damage, but at that point, it was a bit too little too late. So an unfortunate choice. They'll be taking that one to the bank, and hopefully we'll see them again in another tournament, because Captain Tofu, all of these guys are players we've seen do really well in other tournaments. So hopefully see them back. But that'll be the end of the road for them.
Yeah, I mean, in theory, it was a good draft. If it played in those choke points, if it played in the jungle, if it played as a 5-man stack, as a front, 5-man unit, that low cortisol draft, I think, does a lot and finds a lot of success when it comes to skirmish time. But unfortunately, it happened maybe once, twice towards the end of the game there, but by that stage the game was essentially over. It was a complete blowout in favor of the Capybaras, who not only had just steamrolled Daisy into this monstrous Ashe that she got there by the end, but you also had Kenvo making sure that even if Daisy was threatened, it wasn't for very long.
Yeah, and I think we also have to talk about just the mechanical prowess that this bot lane showed. Daisy and Kenvo, Kenvo, of course, coming in was someone we knew from the InterVarsity scene, but Daisy, not someone I'm familiar with, unless there is a name swap that I've just not been made aware of. But they showed that they can hang with the big dogs because they looked absolutely incredible. And as far as I'm aware, this is the new change for this roster as well.
I hate to break this to you, but unfortunately we do have the mask has slipped. The reveal is that Daisy apparently is the Poo Queen. Of course, it was Poo Queen.
That's a much better name.
Okay, we got to stop glazing him now. Suddenly he doesn't deserve it because that's what we've come to expect from him. Like that, jeepers, my lord. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it makes sense. It's suddenly the veil of mystery has been lifted.
Terrible name, great player. I'm glad that we're going by Daisy these days. That's a good one. Thank you, Poo Queen. Really appreciate that. Yeah. I'm glad we don't have to say that on cast anymore. Although we had said it for like
the last 2 minutes. Yeah. But either way, look, it's a team, especially looking at how they're playing. I'm expecting to make a deep cut in that playoffs, especially with someone like Daisy, as we'll call him going forward. In that ADC position, they've got the synergy down. I mean, Kenvo, I thought for sure he'd just completely wasted an ultimate, sent it into the wind, and then Guacamole Gary flashes it. He anticipated the aggression from low cortisol, and whether it's intentional or not, he's 100%. I guarantee you, he's just going to say, that was the plan all along. But it worked, and he was consistently there, babysitting his bot laner until it got to the point where suddenly Seraphine was no longer a babysitter; it was instead a backpack.
Yeah, 100%. Really incredible performance by this team. Want to see what they can do heading into the tournament because they are our defending champions, so we need to see them step up against the big dogs.
I mean, that's exactly it, but that is only the appetizer. That is the first course here for tonight, game 1 of 4. After the break, we jump into our second game of the evening, and if that was the appetizer, this meal is looking delicious. We'll see you back.